Good afternoon, YouTube. Now, I've had a nice early finish from work today, so I'm home early and I'm going to have a look at these Kef Cantor 2 speakers. Now, I got these the other day off the computer and they've got a tweeter missing. So I think they just need a tweeter, but they might need more parts than that. They might need two tweeters. So if it turns out that the seller was telling the truth and they only need one tweeter, then I'm going to have a little rum and coke after to celebrate. Now I shall have a rum and coke no matter what the outcome of this video. So it might be a rum and coke in celebration, or it might be a rum and coke to drown my sorrows if these things are knackered. So I've got them connected up to the Rotel. I've got a CD playing in the CD player. So I'm just going to listen to the speaker. I want it on speaker 1. I'm going to listen to that speaker that is complete just to make sure that one is working. Make sure the crossover's all working, the tweeter is working and the driver is working. And I can hear that is. That tweeter sounds nice actually. I'd say there is nothing wrong with that tweeter or that driver. That speaker sounds really good. Now I'm only running it on low, but that is telling me there is nothing wrong with that speaker. It sounds nice, that one. Sounds really nice actually. So there is nothing wrong with that speaker. So that's good. That speaker is working lovely. So I'm going to take the tweeter out of that one. I'll turn all this off. I'm going to take the tweeter out of that one and try it into the other one to make sure that other one is working. And if that is the case, then I just need to get a tweeter. So what I'm probably going to do is, if that is the case and the other speaker is fine and I just need to get a tweeter, I'll go through these speakers and give them a service and then stop the video and do the end bit once I've got the tweeter and make it into one video, because obviously otherwise it's just going to be a video of me changing a tweeter from one to the other. But if there is more wrong with these speakers when I open them up, or the one with a missing tweeter in particular, if I need to do a fair bit of work on it, or need to fault find, or need to do whatever with it, then this video might be about that. So I'm not sure how this video is going to play out yet. We'll have to just see what happens as I go through this speaker. Because I don't think there is nothing wrong with this first one. That one sounded too good to have any problems with it. That really did sound nice, that speaker. But that second one might be a different story. Because although the seller said the tweeter stopped working and he took it out, if he hasn't tested right through it, there might not have been nothing wrong with the tweeter to make it stop working. It could be the crossover, or it could be something else that stopped the tweeter working. So unless he did actually test the tweeter, he might have took it out when the tweeter wasn't even the problem. And I learnt that years ago, because I had a set, I think they was Bowers and Wilkins DM10s or 11s, something like that. And I had a big Pioneer reference amplifier from the 80s, big monster black thing, lovely it was. And one night, it was me and my mate indoors, playing with this Pioneer, and we're turning it up really loud, getting these old Bowers and Wilkins speakers pumping, and all of a sudden I lost one of the tweeters. So I thought, oh no, I've blown a tweeter. So this was years ago. I wasn't made of money, so I saved up and bought a new tweeter for my lovely Bowers and Wilkins speakers. I fitted it, and it made no difference. I hadn't killed the tweeter, I had killed the crossover. So there's a little bit of advice there. If you find one of your tweeters or your drivers is not making any sound, don't assume it is the speaker. Do what I am doing now. Change it over to the other speaker just to make sure that it is the speaker and not the crossover, because you just might buy a new tweeter or driver, put it in and you still get no sound. So that's the tweeter I need. That's an SP106A and it's actually an Audax tweeter. So that tweeter is Audax. It is not a Kef tweeter, I don't think. And I've wrote blue on it there. You see where I wrote blue? Because the blue went to the live terminal and the brown went to the negative. So that confused me. That's why I just wrote blue on it so I can put it back how it come out. Because otherwise I would just naturally put the brown to the live because you'd think that's how it would be. But obviously in these Kefs it is not, unless someone has wired them up wrong. I don't really know. So let's whip the screws out of this one and then put this tweeter into here, and then hopefully this one will sound as nice as that other one. And that's strange to me that tweeter is an Audax tweeter, because you wouldn't have thought Kef would be using stuff from Audax, because they would have been like the competition. And you see them speakers like behind this speaker, them floor standers with a black front, the freeways, they are Audax speakers. They are quite rare, that set of speakers. They sound fantastic, but they are made by Audax. Really good quality they are. They're not really loud, but they are really sensitive and they just sound fantastic. They have got so much detail. They really are a lovely set of speakers. I've had them years and they are so good I've always hung on to them. So they are one of the bits of hi-fi gear that I have had a really long time, because I wouldn't part with them. They are so good and you would never get your hands on another set. They are lovely. So that was a bit strange that's like, I'm sure this is a T33 tweeter, but then why has it got Audax made in France wrote on it? That seems a bit strange, unless Kef got Audax to make these tweeters for them as well, because Audax is a high-end good company, so Kef might have trusted them to make tweeters for them maybe. So that's that tweeter in the other speaker. Now I've only put it in there with 2 screws because I only want to try it, and I will take it back out. So let's turn the Rotel back on, speakers 1, and put the balance over to that side. So let's just quickly push play on my CD again and then give it a little bit more volume. Right, so the CD's playing, let's give it a bit of volume. And yeah, that one's working. Yeah, that sounds nice actually. Tweeter's working, I can hear the driver going. Oh, so that's good. So these speakers then do just need a tweeter. Sounds fine, that speaker. So the man was right, it did just need a tweeter. So by the look of it then, all I need to get for these speakers is 1 tweeter. But I am going to run through these now. Now I know they are working, I'm going to take the drivers out and just check over them and just check the connections and give everything a little bit of a clean up, ready for when I get a tweeter. So let's take this tweeter back out. Oh, and that's good then, I'm happy about that. All I need to get is 1 tweeter. Now I did think this would be really easy to get a tweeter for. Just get a T33 tweeter and pop it in. But ones made by Audax might be a bit harder to get hold of. I'm not sure about that. I haven't never tried to get one. Might be a load of them out there, or there might not be. They might be quite rare. So I might have to do a bit of looking up. Isn't an Audax one exactly the same as a Kef one? and it's just made by Audax. I'm not sure. I'll have to do a bit of investigating on that, see if I can just get a normal Kef T33 or I need to get an actual Audax one. But that's what I need, one of them. And I do think, after hearing these speakers for a little bit, I think when you get both of these working, these speakers are going to sound pretty nice. You could tell that straight away just by listening to them a little bit. They're going to have a good sound to them. And that tweeter should have a really good sound to it because Audax do not make rubbish. Most stuff made by Audax is really good quality and really nice sounding. And over the years, I've opened up a lot of speakers made by different companies, and you find Audax gear in them. So it is not uncommon to find Audax speakers in other brands. I'm just not sure if I've found it in Kef's before. I might have, but I really don't think I have ever found Audax speakers in a set of Kefs. I might be wrong on that, because I've had so many speakers apart over the years. And them screws holding this driver in, they are really loose, so that driver would have been rattling around like a good un. You need to always make sure the screws holding the driver in really are nice and tight. The tweeter doesn't matter so much. You still want the tweeter tight, but the driver, it's really important that you have the screws tight, else it just loses some of its sound quality. Even if the screws are a tiny little bit loose, it will lose a bit of its quality. So you can see there, look, the screws in the tweeter were just wood screws, but them ones are like proper little bolt screws, so they are going into, like, there'd be a metal bit in the back of this box where they screw into. So they are not wood screws, they are like proper bolts. And that is a much better way of doing it than wood screws, because when they are like them bolts with the metal bit on the back, you really can do them up nice and tight. So that's the driver out. Look, nice driver that is. Lovely driver. Nice size magnet on the back of that. I don't know why it's got Flux OK written on the back of it. So that is an SP1070. So an SP1070. And I do think that is a B200. It looks like one. I'm sure that is Kef's B200 driver. It's just most of the time you see it and it's round with 4 screws in it, but for some reason in these Cantors they're like that triangle shape with just 3 screws in them. But I'm sure that is the B200, it really looks like it. And it's nice and heavy as well, that driver, so that is a really good quality driver in these speakers. Nice, heavy, well made driver. So I'm just going to pull back this soundproofing because I want to have a look at the crossover, see what's going on with that. And it looks nice, that crossover, looks nice and clean. It's not the best crossover I've ever seen, but it is not a bad one. It's got 2 windings and 3 capacitors. So it is not the world's fanciest crossover, but it is not a really cheap crossover. That's half decent what's in there, sort of what you'd expect from these sort of speakers. And them capacitors look really nice. They don't look like they're bubbling at the ends, or they don't look like nothing has leaked out of them. And I'm looking at that wire there, that is right. The blue goes to the live, so I just wanted to check that. So it is right, the brown is the neutral, the blue goes to the live, so someone has not wired them up wrong, that is how they are. Now while I'm in here, I just want to make sure that screw's tight, so make sure it's not rattling around, and yeah, just nip that a tiny little bit. So that's good. That crossover looks quite a decent little crossover. And you've got to think that these wouldn't have been top of the range, load of money Kef speakers. I don't think these would have been bottom of the range, but they wouldn't have been really expensive, a set of these in the 80s. So I'm looking forward to getting these running, these speakers, because they got a half decent crossover, got that nice big quality driver in them. They got an Audax tweeter, and this cabinet is really well made. So these things should really have a decent sound to them. They really should, because they've got all the right components to really deliver a good sound. Whether they do or not, we'll have to wait and see. But they have got all the right bits in them, so they have got potential, these old Kefs. So I've got a bit of WD-40 contact cleaner here, and I'm just going to give the spade connectors a little clean up with that. When I push them on, I should put a little bit of dioxin on them, but I'll just clean them a little bit first with this, because they look really dirty. And this stuff is like a third of the price of dioxin, so where you can use this stuff, you might as well use this stuff. But don't put this in like your pots and that on your amplifier. You don't want this nowhere near that. But it's alright on these spade connectors and things like that. It's fine for that. So I'll just give this one a little squirt with it as well, and then just get me brush in there and rub it all in so it starts cleaning these little spades up. And it's worth doing this, cleaning your spades up and that. If you've got an old set of speakers and you're having them apart for some reason, it's worth doing this, because it only takes like 5 minutes, and it can improve the sound. If these spade connectors are really dirty, it will improve the sound quality of your speakers. So I'm just going to do the same with these bottom two spades. Just give them a little squirt and then just brush it in just to clean them up a little bit. And it will clean them up, because these speakers are like over 40 years old, and I bet none of these spades have ever been cleaned, so they do need a little clean up. So I'm going to just put the driver back in now. It can go back in that driver. What I will do, I'm just going to tighten the terminals up a little bit, make sure they are nice and tight. And then I'll put a little squirt of dioxin on them before I push them back on, because dioxin helps them make better contact as well. So I'm only squeezing these little spades together a tiny bit. Do not crush them, you will never get them back on, or you will break them. And what you could do, if you had your speakers like this and you wanted to get the best sound you can, you could put these spades on and then solder them on as well. A lot of high-end speakers are done like that. The spades go on and then they are soldered on as well, just to give them a better connection. And some people will swear by that and say, oh, do it, it makes your speakers sound so much better, you must solder your spades on. Now, I have done it. I've had a pair of speakers where I've listened to them, and then I've took one apart, soldered all the connections on, and then listened to them again with like one speaker with all the connections soldered and the other one just with the spades, and then flip from one to the other with the balance. And could I hear a difference? Oh, I don't really know. It might be a bit of snake oil or rattlesnake oil, as I would say, but there might be something in it. It's up to you if you want to go that far with speakers. But you can definitely hear a difference if your spades are a little bit loose and you tighten them up a bit and clean the terminals. That will make a difference. But soldering them on, it probably does make a tiny little bit of difference. And if you've only got one set of speakers, then maybe it is worth doing. But like with me, I'm always flipping around with different speakers and all that. So years ago I did used to solder all the connections on, but I never bother doing it now. I might do for the channel. I might get a set of speakers and we'll do all that. Take all the connections off, cut the spades off, solder everything up and see if we can hear a difference. I'll do that another day on the channel. And then we can see if we can hear anything in it, or if it is just rattlesnake oil. There is something in the one though, I'll say this, when you bypass the terminals at the back and solder straight onto your crossover board, I've done that on speakers before, and I swear I could hear a difference in that. I could hear an improvement by like disconnecting all the terminals and just soldering your speaker wires straight onto the crossover board. And I used to do it the other end as well, where I'd run the speaker wires straight inside the amplifier and then solder them on to the terminals on the inside of the amplifier. So you're disconnecting the connections on the amplifier and on the speakers. And I swear I could hear a little bit of a difference in that. I swear I could. Or maybe it was in my head and there was no difference and it was more rattlesnake oil. 'Cause I did try everything when I was a kid. Anything I thought could improve the sound, I did it. And the main thing I learnt from all the things I used to play around with, the number one thing that I learnt and have carried with me all these years is, if you want a better sound, just buy a better pair of speakers or buy a better amplifier. That is the easiest way to do it. So that's the driver back in this speaker, and I have turned this driver because when I took it out the wires was at the bottom, now they are at the side. So you want to do that. If you've got an old set of speakers, turn the driver, because where they've stood in one place for so long, gravity sort of pulls the coil down a bit inside. So if you turn them, it just gives them a new lease of life, and sometimes it can make them sound better. So I always do it. Whenever I take a driver out of a speaker, I put it back in another position and make sure it's in there nice and tight. So let's turn it round and I'll just do that connection on the back. Put a bit of dioxin in now to take it out and clean the terminals on the back, just to make sure this is all right. And this is what I am saying. Years ago, I would have took this back bit out, cut the two spade connectors off, and then soldered the speaker wires straight onto the wires. Or I would have chased them wires back to the like crossover and soldered what the speaker wires straight onto the crossover. And then I would have probably played them for a little bit to see what they sounded like with a little hole in the back acting like a little port, and then I would have screwed a bit of wood or something over it, blocking it, and then listened to them again to see what I preferred. I was a bit obsessed when I was a kid, trying different ways to get different sound, but I loved it. It's all I did. Me and my friend Ryan, we done so many things when we was younger with hi-fi, trying to get better sound out of stuff. But it's good fun, all that. If you're like a youngster just getting into hi-fi, the things like running your speaker cables to the crossover and that doesn't take long, and if you can use a soldering iron, it's quite easy to do, and things like that are good fun, so you can get a lot of enjoyment out of playing around with all this stuff. I did it like years ago. I will do some of it on the channel. Now I'm sort of talking about it, it would be good fun. Maybe on my other channel I'll do some of these little hacks and little tricks that I used to do, just to see if there's anything in it. Because when I was a kid, me and my friend Ryan, we did think there was stuff in it, but the gear we had wasn't that high end, so there might be a bit more of an improvement doing things like that with budget gear as opposed to doing it with high-end stuff. I don't think it would make not much difference, but it might do on some budget gear, because years ago me and Ryan swear we did improve the sound of some systems by soldering things on here and there and doing little hacks with them and that. Yeah, and we had a real lot of fun doing it. So if you're young and getting into hi-fi, things like that, you should have a little play around with it, because you just might have a right laugh doing it. And you never know, you might find something that really does work and is not rattlesnake oil. So I've just sprayed dioxin into them spring terminals, cleaned them up. I've sprayed a bit of dioxin on the spades on the back, put them back on, just give that a little clean, and then I shall pop that back in. And then this speaker is good to go, other than popping a tweeter back in it, once I get my hands on one. So I'm going to do exactly the same with the other speaker, but I'll edit that one right down. I'll just quickly run through what I'm doing, because you don't want to sit through this again watching me do this. I've done this one to time, but the next one I'll cut it right down in the editing, unless I find a problem. But if it's just the same as this, I shall cut it right down and do it as quick as I can. So let's just get these last 4 screws in, finish this one off properly, and then I should do the next one as quick as I can, cut it right down with my new editing skills that I am learning. Because I'm learning a lot. There's a lot more to this YouTube than I thought. I thought it was just, you get a camera and you make videos and they just go on YouTube. But it doesn't work like that. There's so much more to learn that I didn't realise, but I know now. And the editing is one of them bits that when you first start, it's really hard to get your head round, because there is so much going on in one of them editing websites that it is just so confusing. But I am slowly getting the hang of it. But it still does take ages. So that's that one done. So right, here we go. Speaker number 2, and I shall show you all my new editing skills. Here we go. Ready? Right, so let's take out the screws on the driver. 1, 2, 3. Remove the screws. Then carefully remove the driver, laying it down nice and gently. Tighten the screw up on the crossover, make sure it is tight, and then check the crossover, make sure it all looks good. And yeah, all them caps look good. The crossover in this speaker looks nice. Little squirt of contact cleaner, clean up the spades. Same on the bottom connections. Little squirt, clean with the brush. Tighten up the terminals with the long nose pliers. Little squirt of dioxin. Clean the terminals on the driver. Pop the wires back on. 1 wire, 2 wires. Put the driver back in, and I've turned it so it's not where it was when I took it out. Put the screws in, tighten them up nice and tight. Turn it round. Take the screws over the speaker connections. Pop that out. Take the wires off. Little bit of sandpaper. Bit of dioxin in the terminals. Dioxin on the wires. Pop them back on. Pop that back in. Put the screws in. Tighten them up. And there you go. Job done. That speaker really didn't take long. So now I need to go and track down and order one of them tweeters, and then I shall be back. Right, I have just got home from work, and as you can see on the table there, in that brown bag, should be the tweeter I need, because it got delivered today. I found one quite easy. When I went on the computer, there was 3 of them on there, made by Audax, and a load of them on there, made by Kef. And when I'd done a little bit of research, I couldn't find much out, but I found out that Kef made the original T33s, and then a little bit later, Audax started making it. But people were saying the Audax one has a better sound than the Kef one, and it is a little bit more efficient. So I managed to get another Audax one, so I've got a matching pair of Audax speakers to go back in these Kefs. And I did try and find out if these tweeters would be the original ones in these speakers, as Audax started making like the later version, and it seemed strange that Kef would fit someone else's tweeter in their speakers when they make their own. And I couldn't find nothing out about that, so I'm not sure if these tweeters are original or they have been changed at some point for the better Audax version. I don't really know that. I couldn't find that out. So it's been nicely protected in a load of bubble wrap. Oh, and look, I like that. Whoever has posted this tweeter has taped a milk bottle top over the tweeter, over the dome, to protect it. I like that. That is so simple but so clever. So I like that idea. There's a really good little trick there. Tape a milk bottle top over the dome of a tweeter when you post it to protect it. I like that. That's really good. I'm looking at them there. They look exactly the same, them tweeters. They are both Audax. They are exactly the same tweeter, so that's good. And apparently this one I've just bought has been tested and is working perfectly. So let's hope that it is. So all I've got to do is put the tweeters back into these Kef Cantors, and then hopefully these Cantors will be singing like a pair of canaries. So I'm just going to give the terminals a little rub over on them with a bit of sandpaper just to clean them up a little bit. That's all I'm doing. And then I'm going to put a little bit of dioxin onto the spade connectors when I put them on, just to make sure everything's nice and clean and making a good connection. And they do look nice and clean anyway, them terminals on the tweeters. So let's give these little spades a little go with dioxin. And then I should just pop them on and screw the tweeters back in. And then I shall connect them up to the Rotel and we shall see if they are working. Well, we know one of them is working because I've had it working. We know the other speaker is working really. It's just a matter of seeing if that tweeter I've bought is working. That is the only thing that we don't know about at the moment. Everything else seems to be working fine. So just clean them up with my little brush. Wipe the excess on the back of the speaker terminals just to clean them up a little bit. Put a bit of dioxin on them. Do the same on this one, and then I shall just pop them back in. So they're nice and clean. Let's get the wires back on the tweeters. And it was the blue wire that went to the live. So let's connect that one up first. Blue goes to the red, and then brown goes to the negative or the black. And let's pop that back in. Get a couple of screws on it. There you go, that's back in. Let's get a few screws in it. And then I'll just tighten it up with the driver. Now you don't need to go mad doing these tweeters because they're only wood screws. So don't really crank on wood screws into the speakers because you can easily strip them. The ones that are like the bolts are different. You can really give them a good tighten up, but when they're the wood screw ones, don't go mad with them, else you'll be breaking the cabinet and then the screw will just go round and round and round and never tighten it up, and you'll have to find bigger screws to go in it. Or put a block of wood behind it, glue it in, and then put a longer screw through if you do strip the thread. But try not to, just go easy on the wood screws. And I'm just going to check the screws on the drivers, and you see that there, I'm getting quite a bit of a turn on of these. Now, I tightened these right up the other day, and these speakers have just sat here. Think about 5 or 6 days they've been sitting here. So where the driver is settled in, the screws become loose. So always remember to do that. I do. Whenever you've had your driver out or your speakers, about a week later, just tighten them up again. Because these, I got a fair bit of a turn on all of them, where the driver had settled in and the screws had become loose. And these wasn't even being used, they was just sat here. When I use them, after a few days of them being used, I shall check them again, and you'll probably find you'll get another little turn on them, where they are settling in. So I'm just going to tighten that one up with the pliers, because that was a little bit loose, that connection. The other side was good, this one's a little bit loose. So let's connect the wires back on. Blue goes to the live, or the red, and the brown goes to the positive. And that is right, because I checked it on the crossover, that is how they go. So let's pop that tweeter back in, get some screws in it, and then the Kefs will be finished, and we'll give them a little test run. And I did notice, while I was looking up stuff about these speakers, I noticed that they make these in nice wooden cabinets, so they're not only made in this black with the two-tone grey. You could get like a really nice dark wood version or a light wood version. So there's a few, there probably was more than that, they're only the ones I saw, and they looked like a very different set of speakers in a right nice wooden cabinet with a wooden front on them. They looked very different. I sort of like these ones because they're so 1980s. I've got no other speakers that look like this, so I like them being grey and with the black. I think they look good. So I've got the little Rotel sitting down here. So let's pop the Rotel back up on there. I shall put some speaker wires on them quickly, plug my CD player in, and then we'll see if we get any sound out of them. Right, so they're all connected up, they're ready to go. So let's turn the CD player on, press play, and then go back to the little Rotel and see if we can get any sound out of these Kefs. Now they should be working fine, these Kefs, as long as that tweeter I've bought is good. And they might work really well on this Rotel, I think, these Kefs. They might really suit it, because this Rotel has got really a lot of detail in it. So these Kefs being quite sensitive might work really good on this Rotel. So let's give it a little bit of volume. Yeah, that one's working good, and that's the one with the tweeter that I bought, and that sounds really nice. So let's flip the balance over to the other side. Yeah, that one's sounding good as well. So let's go back to the middle. So yeah, these speakers are working lovely. And they sound really nice actually on that low volume on this Rotel. Them speakers are sounding good. I'm just going to leave them playing for about an hour on low just to like soften everything back up, because they haven't been used for ages. And me and this little Rotel have got a night out tomorrow night, because my friend has got one of these Rotels, and I'm going round there tomorrow night and taking mine with me, and we are going to have the battle of the Rotel RA310s. And I bet my one wins, because my one sounds fantastic. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.